In their tongue, he's Dovahkiin. Dragon Ball.
Come get some.
Salut, c'est Come Get Some et bienvenue sur Super Seducer. Voici l'épisode bonus dont je vous avais parlé il y a quelques temps. Ce ne sont juste que 2 vidéos que vous allez pouvoir regarder. Des petits conseils de drague, je ne sais pas s'ils sont réellement utiles, mais je vous l'avais promis, c'est un épisode chill, un épisode du dimanche. On lance tout de suite la première vidéo qui s'intitule La différence entre la drague en journée et la drague en soirée.
Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to be talking about the difference between day game and night game. A lot of guys are either good at one or the other, and it's a shame because by understanding the differences between them you can be very good at both. So I'm going to run through real quick. We're going to jump from the daytime to the nighttime, give you some examples so that by the end of it you know how to behave, how to do things in the daytime versus how to do them in the nighttime. With the very first thing, indicators of interest. In the daytime, you're not going to get very many. You're going to be walking down the road, you'll try and make eye contact with girls, and in general, you won't get too many IOIs back. Something you can try is to be on the phone, be listening to music, be walking with a friend, especially a girl, be eating something, eating an apple, eating something like that, an ice cream, drinking from a big bottle. Actually, these things get you more attention and will get you more IOIs in the daytime. In most cases in the day, you get the IOI as you're passing someone, you can let them pass and then you can approach like we show you in the videos or like you'll see in day game domination. So that's IOIs in the daytime. In the nighttime, you will get more indicators of interest and more opportunity to create them. As you're walking around, people will pay more attention. When you come in a place, girls might look to see who's there. As you're walking around the venue, across the bar, you can have lots of opportunities where you can make eye contact before you approach. So that is a big difference from in the daytime. In fact, if you master IOIs, you can make 70 or 80% of your approaches warm rather than cold, meaning that you've already exchanged some eye contact and some non-verbal communications before you actually come up and approach. Second thing is when it comes to approaching and physical space. So in the daytime, you're probably looking at having a distance of about this much when you start an interaction. You're further than arm's length apart. If you're too close, it's quite strange for the girl in the daytime. So, yeah, exactly. So keeping in mind physical space. And normally you would actually be face to face. You wouldn't be side on. So in the daytime, that's how it goes when it comes to physical space and approaching. When it comes to approaching, you're going to be able to do it in a few different ways in the nighttime. If she's at the bar, you can kind of come up next to her. You can, of course, approach directly. A lot of the traditional theory is that you should be a little bit side on instead of kind of facing direct towards her, and I agree with that, but in general you don't have to have so much impact in your approach. You can be a little bit smoother and kind of sneak in there, and of course you can be a lot more non-verbal, setting things up with your body language and non-verbal communications as you actually walk towards her or before you approach her. In the nighttime, the physical space stuff is very different. It's quite comfortable for us to be actually touching close side by side, even with a complete stranger. This is completely normal. If you're both standing at the bar, if you are talking to each other, you would be much closer, close enough to touch. You might be in a loud place, you're leaning in, blah, 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 talking in her ear like this, and in general, you're able to be a lot closer even before it's a romantic situation. So pretty much immediately, you're going to be able to get a lot closer. The third big difference is when it comes to touching or kino escalation. In the daytime, it's very common that I wouldn't actually touch a girl at all. I don't think, I would do too many touches, even on the arm. There might be some moment where, I pick something out about her clothes or her jewelry, but in general, I wouldn't actually try and do that. It's not so important in the daytime to escalate physically. It's more important that she's very comfortable, and unless there's some point where maybe you decide to go somewhere together and you walk her and you kind of put your hands on her back to lead her across the road or to open a door and to take her somewhere. In most cases, you wouldn't have much physical contact in the daytime at all. When it comes to touching, you're going to see a lot more if done correctly. You might open and put the hand on the arm as you're opening her. You can use the front and the back of the hand to touch all the way along the side of the body. You might touch the small of her back. You might take her around the shoulder and talk about something in the venue. So in general, you've got a lot more touching. You're able to get a lot closer. Next big difference is when it comes to verbal versus non-verbal game. It's possible that this is maybe the biggest difference in what you should do, but in the daytime it's going to be a lot more centered on your verbal communication. We've already said that you haven't got much touching going on, but also you can't really have those moments where you're kind of just looking or you're dancing or you've got something where you've got something from the environment, you're not very close. So it is very verbally dependent. There's a lot of emphasis on the conversation. There can't be any lulls in the conversation because then she could walk away. So if your verbal game is not up to scratch, it's very good to kind of throw you in there in the daytime, in the deep end to make sure you've got what it takes. Conversations mustn't run dry, and the only thing that is non-verbal that really comes into it is having good eye contact. The verbal non-verbal balance is of course very different in the nighttime. There's a lot more non-verbal stuff. It's a lot more about the eye contact. It's about the touching. You can dance. You can have a lot of time when there is no verbal communication, because actually in a noisy place you want to communicate a lot through your moods. If you're smiling, if you're enjoying the music, if you're moving, if you're dancing, if you're doing something, then you won't need to focus too much on the conversation. In general, in the beginning it will be not so verbal, and then if you do want to talk, you might go to a more quiet place, the smoking area, or to sit somewhere to carry on a conversation. In the daytime, it is possible to have some subtle flirting, but girls, when they're in their lunch break from work and things like that, they're not drunk, they're not in a bar, they're not usually dressed as sexy as Olia is today, so they're not in that kind of mood, they're not in a sexual state. They're happy to be comfortable with someone and to spend some time, but to take the conversation to kind of sexual things, to be looking at her lips, to be giving her sexual compliments and things, in the daytime is really not the place for it. In the nighttime, obviously, you can ramp things up a lot more. You're going to be standing close, so you're going to have more contact, you're going to have closer eye contact, and so things are going to be a lot more intimate than in the daytime. Also, the focus as things continue, with drinks involved, with her dressing more sexily, you're going to have more opportunity to take things down that road, whereas in the daytime it's really not appropriate in most cases. Final point is when it comes to closing. In the daytime, the key is that you need to have a good conversation, usually 5 to 10 minutes. You need to talk about things that you both like to do, find some common points, find some dates, some things that you can do together in the future, find out if possible her schedule, and in most cases you're just going for a solid number and setting up a date for that time, or you're going for what we call the instant date, where I say something like, listen, I've got like 10 minutes, why don't we go for a coffee? There's a coffee place over there, and we go quickly for a coffee. So in the daytime, that's what closing would look like, and the key thing is to make it as solid as possible. If you're getting flaky numbers, then I suggest you go for those instant dates. If you're already getting good numbers, then you know what a solid number is and you can go for numbers. Finally, when it comes to closing, of course you can think about numbers, but in most of the cases you're going to want to escalate physically or take her somewhere. So you're going to go from escalating the touches to maybe kissing, dancing on the dance floor. You might invite her to eat something, you might invite her to an after party, and basically the goal would be to get her out of the place. In a lot of cases, the number close in the nighttime is only for situations where you think she wouldn't go with you or carry on things because she's with her friends, she's tired, she has to wake up early, she's got a flight in the morning, or something along those lines. So forget about the numbers in most cases when it comes to the nighttime. So guys, those are the key differences between night and day game. If you had a weakness before, go out, make those changes, and I'm sure it will really help. Around this video, you're going to see a link to click and you'll be able to check out day game domination. It's got in-field footage. I'm very proud of it. It's going to show you everything you need live and in action, real girls in real situations, how it's all done. So check it out, click the link, and again, thanks for watching the video, and I'll be in touch soon.
Voilà pour la première vidéo, j'espère que ça vous aura aidé. On va tout de suite passer à la seconde et dernière vidéo. Je vous invite donc à regarder celle-ci, guide ultime de la drague en soirée.
Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today I've got something very special because it's all about how to meet girls in bars and clubs. As you can see, we've taken over the whole nightclub, we've kicked out all of the guys and all of the ugly girls, and I'm going to be sharing my very best tips for how to go out to a bar, to a club, and be successful with girls. So make sure you watch to the very end because I'm going to be sharing a lot of my favorite stuff. So here we are, I'm with my good friend Alex, and it's actually quite a realistic situation because the person I've been out most with to bars and clubs is this man right here, Alex. Now, we're very different to the average guys, but we see a lot of the average guys when they're out, and they tend to kind of stand like that, and they're kind of, you know, checking out where are the girls like that, looking around. They look quite creepy, they look quite bored, and if a girl walks past, they'll be kind of like this, like you know, plotting and scheming about how to talk to the girl. And that's, you know, maybe if she doesn't see it, you might think it's okay, but there's always other girls in the place. And even girls that are behind, they'll notice when guys are doing things that are very obvious. So me and Alex, we try and do things a little bit different and stand out. We're facing each other, we're talking, we're having fun, we're always smiling, we've always got a good vibe about us, we're joking, we might be making fun of people or something like that. Whatever it is, making jokes about different things, talking about what's going on. And if a girl is there, we don't pay too much attention to her. We notice her, but we don't pay too much attention. But we have this nice vibe between us. And what normally happens is when girls come and they're choosing a place to stand, they're not freaked out, you know, by us. So they're happy to kind of stand by us at the bar. So we're normally surrounded by a bunch of girls even before we start doing anything. So guys, bear that in mind when you come into a place and you're thinking about how to behave when you're with your friends. Okay, so what I want to demonstrate here is, you know, approachability of girls. So if a girl is single, she's going to behave in a certain way, and if she's got a boyfriend, she's a lesbian, or she's catching up with her friend that she hasn't seen for 10 years, she's going to behave a little bit differently. So these girls have positioned themselves close to the wall, so you can't kind of creep in there and talk to them. The girl on this side has her back turned, and there's very little space between them, and they're involved in a, you know, an intimate conversation. So they're difficult to talk to. Girls standing like this, like I said, are less easy to approach. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I'm going to show you how you could do it later. But if you're doing your first approach, if you're a little bit nervous, you probably want to start with something a little bit easier. At the other end of the scale, you've got girls that are kind of presenting themselves. They're more available. They're probably single. They want guys to talk to them, and they will be, you know, facing outwards. They'll still be talking to each other, but they'll be looking around. You know, a guy comes in there, a guy's walking there, and they'll kind of notice him. So they're aware of people in the room, they're looking out for new guys that are coming in, and they might hold eye contact, they might smile, and these would be the girls that would be more approachable. Like I said, it's up to you if you want to approach difficult girls or girls that are going to be more receptive, but start to be aware when you're kind of out and about, the girls that would be more and less approachable. So one of the pieces of advice that I always give to guys is they shouldn't just, you know, stand in the whole place, in the same place the whole night. That's because you want an opportunity to walk around the bar, the club, to get a chance to see all of the girls that might be there, that you might want to talk to. But also, when you're walking around, you have lots of opportunities to start interactions. When you're passing someone, it's a natural situation to just notice something, to start a conversation, to cheers with them or whatever. And too many guys that I've been out with that haven't had, you know, lots of training, they walk, when they're in a place, they walk very quickly, like they've got to get somewhere. So there's the pretty girls there, but they'll be walking through and they're just looking down or they're looking ahead, and they walk at such a pace that they don't have a chance to spark any situations with the girls. So even if they walk through and a girl was smiling at them and they might say, oh, I think that girl liked me, but the time it's happened, he's already way past. So it sounds really, really simple, But one of the major pieces of advice that I give guys is that when they're walking around a bar or a club, they walk slowly and they make eye contact with everyone. So they've got some time to catch the eyes of a girl, and they're judging just from that few seconds of eye contact. You know, is she smiling? Is she receptive? Is she interested? If you have eye contact and immediately she looks away, it's a big difference to if you have that eye contact and she maybe smiles and she's a little bit shy, or she just holds the eye contact and smiles. If you've got one of those situations and you're walking slowly and you're getting that good eye contact, you could just say cheers, or you could just step in and say, hey, how's it going? And you can say, oh, cool iPhone case, look at this, and have a look at that. And you know, you find something that you can start the interaction with. If you're just racing around, you don't have the opportunity to do that. So very small point, but it should double the amount of, you know, attention and IOIs that you get if you just walk around smoothly and try and make eye contact with everyone as you walk through the bar. You're not holding it for long because you're walking and you're breaking it from one girl to the next, breaking to the side, so it doesn't look nervous even when you break eye contact. I always like to start an interaction where possible from a distance and non-verbally. It gives the chance to get an honest reaction from the girl, and it also deals with situations very well where you're not sure. You know, there's a girl or maybe two girls and there's a guy, and you're not sure if they're together, or there's a group of girls and you don't want to bust in there. And in situations like that, it's always good to start non-verbally. So I will try and get the attention of the girl, and once I've got her attention, I'll raise my drink like that. And if I haven't got a drink, you know, I might wave or something like that, or I might just look at her in a way that generates a response, and I'm looking for a smile. If she smiles, I've then got the opportunity to go around and talk to her. If she's shy, you know, I can judge it like that. And if she's, you know, with this guy and she's got a boyfriend, then I'll know from her response, because she'll be a little bit like, oh, you know, I don't want my boyfriend to see me looking at this guy, so I'm going to look away. So you can tell a lot just from, you know, provoking that response without going all the way around to the other side of the bar and busting in on, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that are in a group. One of the things that I use to start interactions with girls is actually opening with a touch. And when girls are in this situation at a bar, a lot of guys, you know, freak girls out. They can sometimes come like this, hello, hello, like that. And it's horrible. It doesn't feel nice when someone, hello, hello. Girls never like it. Or the guy kind of comes in, girls, and it's too close, it's too intense. So not a good way to do it. The way I would do it in this situation is to come in, and I'm going to use a very gentle touch on the shoulder. So I'm going to touch like here and say, hey guys, and then step back. So I come close and then step back. And the touch is very gentle. It's kind of a guiding touch, and it's the kind of touch your friend does, you know, when, you know, he goes away and then comes back and he kind of touches you gently on the shoulder just to say he's there. So you can even do this. So when the girls are facing away, and you can come in and you could say something like, hey Maria, oh sorry, I thought you were my friend Maria. Anyway, I'm Richard, nice to meet you, like this. And you can use that because it's a very familiar touch, the kind of touch that a friend would do. It's a very light hand, barely touching, barely any weight, but she turns around with it because she feels it. And it's something that is a familiar touch in our lives that friends only do with us. So you can try that, it's opening with a touch. Right, so we've got some girls dancing now, not very enthusiastically, but you get the point. And if girls are on the dance floor, you know, how do you approach them? So I'm chilling here, and the first thing that I would try and do, look like I'm enjoying dancing. So I can't kind of come to the girls like this and kind of creep in and I'm not enjoying the music. I need to kind of match their mood. So the DJ's here and I'm kind of facing the DJ and I'm dancing like this as well. And then what I want to do is I want to get some girls' attention while I'm dancing. So if I'm interested in this girl, I want to be dancing, and then I kind of want to look and get her attention like that and have some non-verbal communication with her to start with. And then I would go back to dancing like this. If it was this girl, I would want to be kind of facing over there, just dancing, but after a little while I'm kind of just get her attention for a second and go back to dancing like that. And again, I'm looking for that response. You've got those few seconds where she can smile or she can just look away in disgust. You know, usually it's something more in the middle towards the positive, but you're going to be dancing close to them, not focusing on them at all, not trying to be creepy and be close to them without enjoying the music, but trying to match their mood. And that's the first step. The second thing is that once you've got the positive response, you might want to come in and just say, hey, I'm Richard, and introduce yourself like that, what's your name, and like that, and just a very quick interaction, take their name, and then go back and be dancing from a distance, but more facing each other. And you want to see if she turns away from her friends a little bit and she starts to face you, and if she does, that's a good sign. But you haven't kept the pressure on, you're not trying to have a conversation on the dance floor, shouting, you know, where you can't hear each other, you're just dancing like that, and you're looking for the eye contact, you're looking for that she's facing you, and then again you can come in and you can say something a little bit, but better if you can just start dancing with her a little bit. And the way I would do it is I'd get closer and be dancing, and then I'd just present my hands like this, and I'm looking for her to take them, and then we just do this silly dance. So obviously you won't have my amazing dance moves, but you know, you should be able to do something like this. A lot of girls like it when you spin them, so you can work that into it, you know, where you just lift your hand up, and most girls know how to do it, and then you can go back to doing this. You don't want to let things get too intense, so you might, you know, let her hands drop again and go back to just dancing at a distance, and then after a little while you can come back in again and you can start dancing again like this. And then once she's comfortable with you, you know, this is something you wouldn't do immediately, but after a little while you can take her hand, you can take your hand and put it just at the back of her elbow and pull her hand so that she takes you here and you take her here, and now you're dancing much closer and much more intimately. When you're in a club and the music is pumping really hard, normally the dancing is quite fast, the dance floor is really noisy, so you have a few choices. At this stage, when you're kind of you know, you've got a good connection with the girl and she's liking you, you can wait for the right moment. So girls are in heels, they get tired when they're dancing for too long. Also sometimes the music changed and the track's not good, so you're kind of dancing and you're like, oh no, I hate this track, let's go get a drink, you know, and you say, let's go somewhere, let's go get a drink, let's go and smoke, and then you've got an opportunity to move her away from the dance floor to somewhere that is not so noisy, where you can have a conversation. If you stay on the dance floor, like I said, you start like this, you can get closer, you've got this eye contact, it can be nice and seductive, and you've got the opportunity to escalate from that point. If she's with her friends, you know, her friends might interrupt her sometime, but you can always dance, you know, join the group and be kind of with them and dancing together with them. That'll be fine if you're with a friend as well. But it's always good to start things non-verbally from a distance, smoothly come in, back off a bit, come in some more, sense how things are going, and then suggest you leave the dance floor or join the friends, stay there for a bit, escalate on the dance floor. Lots of different options, but the whole thing is not to have too much communication, keep it non-verbal, maybe just exchange names and nothing else, and wait until you go somewhere more quiet to continue the conversation. So something to remember is that girls always like to laugh and have fun, and there's not enough fun when they go out to bars and clubs, and Alex has some moves that always make them laugh and make them smile. You know, he does this Michael Jackson thing and he shows girls that, and he does this twerking thing when he does that into them and when he does this stuff, the girls always laugh, they respond well, and then he can just introduce himself. So if I'm walking, yeah, he does this, and the electrocution one you do as well. And the one where you actually get electrocuted. Bzzz, like that, he's getting electrocuted. So Alex,
not in reality getting electrocuted.
Alex has all these moves where he's walking through, the music's playing, the girls are dancing, and then he's got, you know, 5, 10, 20 different moves that he will do when the girls are dancing, having fun, that makes them smile and react well, and then right after that he turns deadly serious and introduces himself and has a conversation and then starts being funny again. But remember, people want to be fun, so try stupid stuff. If it makes you smile and your friends laugh, then it's going to be something that would probably work on girls.
Et voilà, j'espère que ces 2 vidéos vous auront plu. Elles terminent donc ce let's play par cette vidéo bonus. On se retrouvera dimanche, un des dimanches, pour sans doute Super Seducer 2. Je vous dis à très vite les amis, et bien sûr, à ciao bye.